With the many budget cuts faced by public schools in recent years, no subject has been hit harder than the arts. They are seen by many as extra classes with no real importance in preparing students for the real world, and therefore they take up valuable resources that would be better spent on core subjects such as mathematics, language arts, and science. With less students maintaining an interest in the arts as they grow older, the government and schools target it over other classes due to the considerable costs that coincide with providing the necessary resources. The arts are comprised of any subject done by people with skill and imagination, and in many public schools usually consist of visual arts, theater, dance, and music. The struggle to incorporate arts education into the curriculum of public schools is not new. In the mid-1800s, when Horace Mann launched the public school movement, he intended to incorporate classes such as drawing and singing into the curriculum because of the benefits they provided. But when the first official high school curriculum guidelines were created, the arts were nowhere to be seen because they lacked the mental disciplinary value of academic subjects. While some schools, mainly in large cities, established art classes regardless, the arts did not become a prevalent aspect of public education until much later. In the late 1870s, Massachusetts was the first state to formally adopt arts into its education program. It was introduced as a way to promote creativity so that it would be beneficial beyond school and in industry. It was decided by them that art education, even for little children, means something more than instruction in drawing, and that it allowed for students who were not left-brained to be successful. Following the inception of arts education in Massachusetts, many other public school systems began integrating it into their own curriculum. And with the progressive era rolling in at the same time, public schools were already going through major education reforms that allowed the arts to be introduced. Now, in the early 21st century, the arts are fighting the same battle all over again. Public schools were already facing decreases in funding, which greatly sped up when the Great Recession hit in 2008. When this occurred, many schools began to cut funding for programs in their curriculum, but in many states, instead of evenly decreasing funding, arts education budgets were cut and overall education budgets were not. Since then, participation in arts classes, while not significantly, has decreased and less public schools have art classes available. Art is expensive, there is no arguing with that. For many, that reason alone is enough to justify removing it from schools, since they believe it can be better spent providing more resources for core classes. Yet at the same time, the cost of art is exactly why it should remain in schools. Studies by the U.S. Department of Education indicate that low-income students are less likely to have access to arts education than their higher-income peers due to the inability to access resources outside of school.
Well, particularly in public schools, arts education can be rather expensive, and it's not fair that some student families can afford it and some families can't. So the best way to kind of equalize the playing field is to go provide opportunities directly in public schools. Here at United Arts, we also believe deeply that it needs to happen during the school day. It can't just be after school, because the kids who can stay after school are the kids who have parents who can provide transportation. So we support all kinds of things, assemblies, workshops, and residencies through all the arts disciplines during the school day, so that all kids can have an opportunity.
Providing students with access to the arts during the school day is immensely important because students should not be denied educational experiences regarding arts simply because of their socioeconomic background. Allowing low-income students to enroll in art classes has been proven to contribute numerous advantages to their academic success. As shown in a survey completed by the National Endowment for the Arts, when low-income students are continuously enrolled in art classes, statistics show they are more likely to graduate than their fellow low-income peers. Only 4% of low-income students enrolled in art classes fail to graduate compared to the 22% of their low-income peers who did not attend art classes, and the 7% of students overall. Additionally, low-income students significantly outperformed low arts students on standardized tests. Arts education, contrary to the expectation of most, is significant to academic success for many students, not just low-income ones.
I mean, I feel like there are all kinds of studies about how kids who study music, it helps your brain understand math and other kinds of concepts, but I really think it's having faith in you that you can start from nothing and create something is applicable between all art forms. and all non-arts forms.
I think it does provide a little bit of an outlet to, I guess, get out of the stress that might be coming from some other core classes and express yourself in a more vague manner. So instead of having to write an essay about something you enjoy, you can just visualize it and put it on paper with a little more freedom, I suppose.
The arts offer students with opportunities to develop creativity, innovation, and problem-solving skills, encourages empathy and collaboration, and introduces diverse cultural perspectives to give students a sense of global awareness, all of which carry over into their other classes as well as future careers.
I think the ability to first imagine something and then bring it to fruition. I think that hard work, knowing that the first draft is not the final draft. It takes multiple edits, and that's okay. That doesn't reflect poorly on you. That is the way all things should be. You try, you get better. You try, you get better. You try, you get better. I think it's important. I also think that there's something about performing arts that it takes a team to bring something to fruition. It's I think some of the arts where you're practicing alone have different kinds of benefits to the ones that you're with other people, knowing that everyone plays a role, that ultimately the project, the piece of art, the community, our earth is bigger than just you, that you play a little part in kind of helping it all come together. And I think that that's applicable across everything. Whether you're trying to study for chemistry and you're like, okay, I know I didn't understand that the first time, but I'm going to give it another edit, another read through, another try, and see if I understand it better the second time. I just think it's across all disciplines.
I think just design and the overall conception of a piece is really important, because you have to use a lot of imagination, and then also with design, how you format even a brochure or a poster or an essay, how the format in which you do it can be broken down to the simple quantities of art.
I think art really just opens up the kids' minds to visual thinking, seeing where an assignment or a project needs to go. Kids are so here and now, and this is where I need to begin, but it helps you see forward and how to get to where you need to be at that level. Plus, not every project goes the way you want it to, and there's always a fork in the road, or you got to restart. And there is an artistic process, very similar to maybe an engineer's process, where you're designing and you're prototyping and you're testing and you're planning and you're going back to the beginning. I think art classes really hover around this idea. It may not always touch on it, but it really touches base on that thought process.
Art classes teach students skills that are imperative to them being successful throughout their academic careers. They also play a key role in giving students an outlet for relieving their stress and anxieties brought on by other classes.
I think because there's so much rigor and expectations in other classes, you don't see it as much in the elementary and middle school, but when you get into high school and you're taking these AP classes, and there's so much stress, there's so much pressure. I always reserved a section of my high school course selection for my art classes, because that was the time to relax, not to just do nothing, but to get into a mode where I'm in control. I get to do what I want to do, versus these other classes I'm having to study for this test and do all this homework and this and that. But in this section of my schedule is where I could enjoy being myself. And that's what kept me grounded and really interested in school.
A study published by the Journal of the American Art Therapy Association in 2016 found that just 45 minutes of creative activity can reduce stress, regardless of artistic experience or talent. Art is scientifically proven to relieve stress because it can take people's minds off things, even if only for a short time. It allows people to express their feelings and worries in a way that is not detrimental to them or the people around them. In order to keep providing these benefits, though, something must be done to ensure students are able to continue experiencing the arts. Currently, many art educators and organizations are advocating to maintain the presence of art in schools. Organizations like the United Arts Council advocate for and support the arts in schools by raising funds to distribute as grants to art programs, and many people have gone to their legislation regarding the issue. In my interviews, the two teachers I spoke with both emphasized the significance of having a principal who sees how important having a prominent artistic presence within their schools is to the overall experience of students. Still, even with this support, educators have been forced to establish alternative ways to afford supplies for their students.
A lot of my teachers for art classes buy their own supplies to try and like keep their classes like funded and keep them like up, as well as paying like small fees for art class and using more accessible materials like things online so they wouldn't have to pay for maybe a little bit more academic based things like textbooks.
Well, this school year, Arts Boosters is something that we've been trying to get going. It's a very small group, and just thinking long-term vision, getting it to grow bigger, so that maybe the school funding is here, and then Arts Boosters can kind of be a bigger part of that picture, so that arts teachers don't have to worry about, well, I need this, but I can't do it because I don't have what I need for it. And that's kind of where we are right now. We've got some arts teachers in our building that need things but can't because there is that deficit of the school funding. Teachers don't have control nor say. The only thing they can do is ask and hope that you get accepted and say, sure, we'll purchase it. There's so much more that I could be doing with kids, and I guess in my 11 years I've learned to do more with less. And you become very crafty with how you approach things. If I had an unlimited budget, I don't know, I would have done so much more with these kids, so much more with you, and it's just been maybe even more impactful.
Well, here in Wake County, right now, we're pretty lucky. Every single school has at least one music teacher and one visual art teacher. Many schools here in Wake County, including your own, have lots of other kinds of arts teachers as well. What we're doing here at United Arts is supplementing all of that and kind of trying to balance out. The schools with really robust PTAs tend to have more opportunities, and we're trying to provide those where those parents and PTAs and families can't. And so I just feel like if we all, going back to the other question, sometimes it's about understanding where someone is coming from is applicable in the arts, and then to be a healthy, functioning citizen and being able to work with people and brainstorm ideas with people who are not like you. So I feel like for those reasons I hope that arts education cannot go away because I feel like it opens up all those doors and just helps people understand where you're coming from. Whether I'm scared, I'm nervous, but it's showtime. Suck it up and do it. Or I don't know how I'm going to do this, but I envision it, so I'm going to keep trying until I figure it out. That's all.
I can imagine them like increasing and putting more effort into funding them because art as a medium is just everywhere in our lives. So just being able to fund that and put that into our children can actually like allow them to think more visually in their future careers.
Wake County Public Schools, I can say, we survived the recession that happened earlier. Arts is strong in this community, in Wake County itself, and art will continue to be strong because of the charitable organizations that exist in the city of Raleigh. And there's just a good partnership between City of Raleigh and Wake County. If that ever just kind of dissolves, then I can see the arts programs going downhill, but arts is so strong in our district, I don't see it going away, but getting stronger. But I can't really say that for a rural district, somewhere in the middle of nowhere where they are not getting the funding that they're needing and their enrollment is going down. And so that's my worry. While it's good here, it's not good everywhere else. And long term, I don't know. Education is always a conversation every single year. So every year I just cross my fingers and hope we're not next. So far, luck has held up.
The arts, due to the enormous amount of benefits they provide, are an imperative part of a student's education. They encourage important life skills, improve academic standing, guarantee the same experiences to students from low-income families, and lessen the pressure brought on by other subjects. In order to ensure all students are able to experience these benefits, arts education must receive the necessary funding and remain in schools.